I can't do the faraway races this season. So, for example, we're racing at Croft and we're racing at Anglesey for a variety of reasons that I won't go into at the moment. But I can't do them. Unfortunately, I can't do Silverstone either because I'm going to be on holiday. We had a holiday booked in Sicily last year, and there were wildfires, and it had got cancelled, and blah blah blah. So that's now scheduled for mid-May, which unfortunately is the date of the Silverstone race, which is a shame because I like racing at Silverstone. Although I'm hoping to do the Burkitt actually, but we'll talk about that another time. So I've got a big gap. So we've got the race at Brands Hatch at the end of April, and then I don't think a race again until August, which is a heck of a gap. So I was thinking, could I race in another series? And so I looked at the 750 Motor Club Series, BRSCC, BARC, and the closest I can find is Roadsport, which is a 750 Motor Club Series, which is an advantage because I don't have to join another club. And also it's an endurance race. It's 45 minutes rather than 90, but it is an endurance race. And there is a class D, which is for lower powered cars. Now, even though it's lower powered cars, my 116 trophy car would be trailing around right at the back, probably be overtaken all the time. I'd just be in a blue flag nightmare for the whole race. So that doesn't really appeal to me. I want to get out on the track, but I don't want to just trail around on my own with no one to race. So the question is, what would I need to do to this car to make it competitive? So why take this approach? Well, the first thing is I haven't got any more space for any more cars. So the idea of buying another car is just not on, and apart from that, I can't afford it. To fit out another car as well, you've got to remember there's roll cage, seat, steering wheel, belts, fire extinguishers, it goes on and on. It's not just a simple case of stripping out a car and going racing. I've been considering what I might be able to do to this car to make it competitive. So let's see what the numbers look like and see if we can make this work. Okay, sorry about the reflection of the lights off the whiteboard. I've positioned the whiteboard in about 10 different positions and I can't get it any better than this. So hopefully you can see what we have here. So what I've got here is 116 Trophy versus Roadsport. Now an important factor here is that it's got to be easily reversible. Whatever change I make, I've got to be able to change it back. Now this season, it's quite lucky in that the two faraway races that I'm racing in Croft and or would have been racing in Croft and Anglesey, are both falling consecutive months, I think. I think that's right. And so that would give me more time and would mean that I wouldn't have to keep swapping the thing backwards and forwards. Although I have to say, we'll come on to the money side of this in a second, but I don't think I'm going to be able to do it this season, but we'll come on to that. I'll still have the problem next season, so this is still worth looking at. So I had a chat to a couple of people about this. Jez Banks, who got me started in racing, actually, to be fair, gave me some good advice. And also Mark Bate in the 116 Trophy Series also gave some advice, which we'll come on to in a sec. With the 116 Trophy, you can run up to 130 brake horsepower. I'm just about there. I think it was my last dyno run. It was 128.5 or something like that. It's pretty close to 130. Minimum weight 1130. I think I'll do another video on some weight saving that I made, but I think I'm down to 1132-ish. I've got to put it on a weighbridge, which I'll do when I go on my I've got a track day coming up at Brands Hatch, so I can stick it on the weighbridge there. So what we've got here is effectively we've got a class limit of 115 brake horsepower per tonne. The class limit for Roadsport Class D is 145 brake horsepower per tonne. So what Jez said to me was, why don't you just see if you can do some mild tuning to what you've got and try and save more weight. Look at all the ways that you can save weight. So these are some of the things I've come up with. I can replace the rear doors. I did weigh one of my rear doors. It's stripped out. It weighs 15.3 kilos as it is. Now you can get a fiberglass door, and apparently they weigh 4 kilos, but you've got plexiglass to go in on top of that. So let's say that's another 1 and a bit kilos. So that's why I've got a saving. So you'd be saving about 20 kilos for both of the rear doors. I could do the front doors. I'm not that keen on doing the driver door. I could do the passenger door. But the other thing that sort of slightly worries me when we talk about this reversible bit is the front doors have still got all the electrics in them for the windows, etc. And I'm a bit concerned about stripping that, upsetting all of that and taking those doors out. So I'm reluctant to do that, but it's a possibility. Tailgate, similarly, I can get a fiberglass one. These ones come from, it's either Germany or Holland, I can't remember where. But there is a company that does fiberglass doors, tailgate and bonnet for this car. Tailgate, this is a bit of an estimate actually, but I think I'm sort of thinking that the tailgate's going to weigh about the same as a door. So the saving is going to be about the same. Bonnet, actually, I don't have much of a clue. But what I do know is everybody says that the bonnet on these is very heavy. So I'm hoping to get a saving of 20 kilos. I still have wheel arch liners in. I've weighed the front half of the front wheel arch and it weighs 620 grams. So I'm going on about 1.2 grams for the whole arch, and the same for the back, and a few bits of plastic and whatnot to come out with it. So I've got a saving of 6 kg there. I can buy the CR10 wheels, Revolution wheels, which I could use in both series. They are 2 kilos lighter than the wheels I'm currently running. So that's another 8 kilos saving there. I believe I don't have to run a dashboard in Roadsport. I did check in the regulations and it doesn't say anything about you having to run the dashboard or the centre console. Both of these you have to run in the 116 trophy. I did weigh the dashboard when I had it out and I think it was over 5 kilos, but I must admit I'll have to go back through my video, so that might be a bit generous. But I can probably lose a few more bits and pieces here and there, so I don't think I'm going to be that far out. All of this added together gives me a 70 kilo saving. What I needed was about 130 kilo saving, I think. So this is not looking good at the moment. Now, apparently the induction system on these engines is limiting, and I may be able to improve the power by improving the induction, maybe the exhaust, and remapping the ECU. And this was a discussion I had with Jez about this. We were thinking maybe we'd get it up to 140. That might be a bit of a stretch. But anyway, that still just gives me 132 bhp per tonne versus 145, which obviously everybody else is going to be running. Now, short of me doing more drastic things like wings, I could replace the wings with fiberglass. I could try and go carbon fiber, but the price is really stacking up and I don't have much money to spare here. I said I think when I set out on this, I was going to set myself a limit of £2,000. Well, I've blown that, I think, almost immediately. So the alternative is for me to go for a 130, the engine out of a 130, a 2 litre 130 of the same period. Yeah, let me clarify that. It's not the 130, it was in the 120. And the motor I'm interested in is the N46, which standard produces 148 brake horsepower. I would imagine with an improved exhaust, because hopefully, I'd be able to use the same exhaust as I'm using in my 116 trophy car. I realise that's not going to be ideal, but if you couple that with some ECU tweaks or DME tweaks, I'm hoping that we can get that up to 160 horsepower. And so if you take the current weight of 1.13 tonne, that brings me to 141.6 bhp per tonne versus a target of 145. Probably also with a 6-speed gearbox. Now that's not going to be cheap, but if you look at where we're up to so far, we've got £1,800 there and another £1,000 for the induction system. So we're well over £2,000 here, going on for £3,000. I will need different tyres. These tyres won't be competitive. I don't know what I'm going to do if it rains. That would be an even bigger problem. I'll probably have to run the NS2Rs that I'm running in the 116 Trophy Series in the rain, so that could be a bit treacherous, let's say. But I think the engine upgrade is the way to go. The problem with the engine upgrade, it's not so much getting the engine in and out, because I've taken the engine in and out of this car now several times, and that doesn't bother me so much. What I'm more concerned about is that I have to that the electrics or the ECU doesn't work properly, or what. Oh, on the subject of the ECU, what Jez suggested, if I go this route or whatever route I go, he said get Ender Ward, who's the guy who does our ECUs, get him to clone your ECU into another one and then tweak the other one. So that way I don't break any rules for the 116 Trophy and I can just swap the ECU back. You have to clone them because that'll be key coded to the CAS unit in the car. So, yeah. The question is, will it work with just swapping the engine and plugging all the sensors into the same things? And, is it going to be the same? The advice I got from Mark Bate, he thinks that it should be pretty much the same. I think that's what he said to me. That is a possibility, and it would seem that is a cheaper alternative and probably would make me more competitive. The only sort of factor that plays into this as well is the differential. And the ratio on this differential with a bigger engine is going to be very low. So I probably need to this is 3.6 to 1, and I think you probably need to go down to 3.1 to 1 or something like that. And that is more tricky because getting the diff in and out of this car is a pain in the neck. It really is. Plus, strictly all the bolts around the diff, like the ones that hold the drive shafts in onto the side of the diff, the ones that hold the prop shaft onto the diff, they're all one-use only bolts. So that's a whole new area of expense, but probably still not bringing me anywhere near this number that I have here. So that's my thinking, guys. And if you've got any ideas on this, I'd love to hear it because I'm struggling. As I said, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this season. Here's a sort of estimate of costs. The differential, I don't know what ratio I mentioned earlier, but the standard differential ratio on the 120i is 3.38 to 1.
So I suppose we'd go for that. Flywheel and clutch, I'd go for the solid TTV flywheel again. I don't want to have to take the one off my 116 car, so I'd buy another one of those. Big question, will the brakes need upgrading? That's quite possible. The brakes you actually use in Road Sport are completely free, actually, as is the gearbox and differential. Of course, the one thing I'm looking at here with the differential is an open diff, not an LSD, which probably will put me at a disadvantage, but I think an LSD would be far outside my budget.
Just to explain, one of the things about your budget during the season is but the money you spend at the start of the season is much higher, and then it sort of evens out later in the season because you've got license costs, you've got club series registration costs, you've got, the insurance on my trailer came up, the place where I park my trailer, the rental on that came up because it's an annual rental, and that just totally blew my budget. I'm trying to do it for £1,000 a month, to be totally open with you, and of course these numbers here, so I just knocked that completely out. Now I have also decided I'm going to do the sprint races and the trophy races this year. And that also is a good reason why I can't do road sport as well, because that more or less doubles. I think it does double the cost of the weekend. So I think this is a project that may sort of dribble on this year and ready for next year. Okay. Please, if you've got comments like any better ideas than I've got here, please do drop them in the comments below, because I'd love to hear your thoughts.